We're all here anyway, and it's 12 o'clock. And this is our Mind Your Business series. We do one workshop a month, and the topic today is the Mind Your Business series is what makes a great logo. And I can't think of anybody else that's better than Dion to give us all the tips and tricks on all that kind of good stuff. Dion Katina she is the owner. She's actually a graphic designer and a web designer for DK Design Agency. So thank you for joining us, Dion.
Thank you.
We just have a few people, so if it's okay if we go around the room so we can say what your name is and what type of business you have, your business name. I think that'd be good for Dion to know what type of business everybody has.
I was going to actually ask them all during part of the...
I got there before you, sorry. How about Tara?
Oh boy, you had to start with me.
I'm sorry.
All right, so my name's Tara. I haven't started the actual business yet, but my husband and I have always wanted to do like flipping of the houses. So it's going to be kind of like a real estate. So it's going to be Tara Mark Property Solutions.
There you go. Awesome. Rose, how about you?
Sure. So I am Rose Buckley. I'm with Rockland Trust, and I specialize in commercial lending, business lending, construction lending.
All right. How about you, Beatrice?
So I'm working with electrostatic disinfection. The name of the company is ElectroShield Corporation. And we are a new company. I just did their logo, like fix it, but we are expanding the services on our business. So I don't know if we will have to change it. So that's why I'm here, since we are expanding our services.
All right. But we'll get some great information today from Dion. Rich, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say.
Hello. My name is Rich Frangillo. I have a couple of businesses. One is Tenetrix, a technology business, and one is Downtown Sports, as an athletic facility in Franklin. And Dion and I have worked together for a long time. We build websites together, and I'm here to support her.
Awesome. All right, Dion, you got the floor, lady.
Thank you. So I can share my screen, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Laura and Sherry, for having me. And thank you for you taking the time out from your workday and maybe lunch break or something to hear what I have to say and teach on logo. So hang on. So I have to first share my screen, right? So give me a second, because I am not seeing where I can do this. Okay, here we go. Now, can everybody?
Yep, can see that.
Yes.
Screen? Excellent. Okay, very good, very good. So, why you all came to hear why a logo is important for your business. There are many reasons, and I'd like to share, the importance that I think of when I have that. And thank you for giving me, I was going to actually ask you if you could write in the chat what the name of your business is and what you think of your logo, but we can get started with that. So sorry, getting used to this monitors. I always love starting off with quotes because they resonate with me, but a logo is meant to spark a positive memory or emotion, and it can lead to a positive interaction with a brand. A logo also doesn't just sell, it identifies. And a logo is not just a brand, it's only a symbol for a brand. A brand is much more than a logo. A lot of times you'll hear about branding and logos. Their branding is different than logos. There's a lot of elements to branding, and that I think Schwan talked about last month at the chamber. And logo is a good portion of that, and that's what we're going through today. So it's always kind of nice to start with the definition. A logo is a symbol, a trademark, or a sign, a badge that conveys the identity, ownership of a product or service of a company. And it's also a conceptual way, and it's memorable. A logo represents the identity of an organization, brand, or product, an idea. So if you want to write in the chat, And maybe Sherry, you can help me. When you think of logo, what's the first logo that you think of? A lot of times people think of a well-known company. So you can write in the chat. Or maybe there's only a couple of us. Why don't you just say it? So I'm just looking at some people are on mute, but
Well, first one obviously is Apple.
And I think about
McDonald's.
Nike.
McDonald's and
Beatrice said Nike.
Nike. And what did Tara say?
First one I think of is Google.
Google. Okay.
Yeah.
Google's like my life.
Of course, yeah. So why did a logo resonate with you? Was it the symbol? Was it the product it sells? Was it the type of organization or business that it is? Was it the colors, the font, the style that sends the right message to you? Does that organization or business have a great commercial that you love and that you're drawn to the company? There's so many reasons why one particular logo comes to mind. It's interesting, some of the ones that you mentioned, I had put as visuals in this slide here, as you see. A well-designed logo is an easy way to convey to your potential customers that your business is professional, trustworthy, and provides good qualities and services. This is something we all want as business owners. Many times people contact me that are starting a business and need a logo. Other times businesses have already established their logo and either they created themselves or through a friend or an online source. Then they realize that the logo doesn't really have the professional look, or it's just like a stock symbol and it's not really representing their business. I get it. There's a lot to do as business owners. And some people may ask themselves, do I really need a logo? There are so many other things to do for your business that you may put off your branding and logo and marketing pieces. All that takes time, thought, and energy to put together, but it's really worth it. You may be able to do it yourself, or you may need to hire somebody with experience. Either way, it's really important to have the time, cost, and energy that are worth the outcome. And it's sometimes that a business has for a very long time. As you can see, the ones some of you named, like Rich, I think named McDonald's, that has been around for many, many, many years. So it's also something used for everything that represents your business, whether it's online through your web, your social media platforms, your email marketing, or even print. So business cards, it could be a cap, a t-shirt, gift items, badges, decals, of course, traditionally brochures and catalogs and advertisements. It's a one-time investment in creating a logo, and it's worth the time you put into it and all that goes into it. So I wanted to take a dive into 5 reasons why I think it's important to have a great logo. It captures attention. We're going to go into each of these individually, but captures attention. It makes a good first impression, and there's an emotional response to it. It builds a foundation and it's memorable. It distinguishes you from your competition, and it fosters brand loyalty, which is something that reflects your business. In today's world, it's kind of expected that a business has a logo. The audience or potential client wants to see it. Since logo shows you put the time into your business and you gave it thought, and that you will be around to serve them. It shows stability in the business. It represents you and your loyalty and your knowledge in the industry. As you've heard many times, that businesses work with people that they know, like, and trust. A logo can present this message to your customers. So let's take a look into captures your attention. A logo can capture your attention, and our attention spans are short, and many times there's so many things thrown at us at one time. Businesses have a couple of seconds to really convince somebody, potential client or customer, to learn more about their product and service and, to want to buy into it. How do you stand out? Your logo, it can be quickly grab a viewer's attention and communicate the business's values and ideas. How can this be done though? In a creative and interesting way, it can be done. through the styling of, you know, your fonts and colors and the symbol. You give it a lot of conceptual thought. One that I want to mention, which it's kind of fun to hear what you guys all mentioned, and that I actually included part of my presentation here. But you think about McDonald's and how the logo it's displayed in their sign. It's almost coming out of the sky, the way they have it shown. It stands out, and it's arches. I used to think that it was represented like French fries. They call them the golden arches. But if you think about like the word golden, I think of something expensive and of great value. But as we know, McDonald's is a fast food place and they sell hamburgers. There's nothing there that says wealth to me. But to people that love their burgers and the price, they're drawn to it. This is a one that is really kind of timeless. McDonald's was incorporated, I think it was like 1937, and in 1960s when they developed the golden arches, and it had to reflect the building, the rooftop of the building, which I totally thought it was, of course, the M or the French fries. But sometimes all those things work well together, so they were able to do it, and they were consistent with their colors. They used yellow, red, and black, and yellow and red are like joy, happiness, and passion. So it's kind of interesting they do that with food, because, you know, food does bring us joy when we're all happy about the taste of it, right? So second, the first impression. Your brand logo is your company's first introduction to your clients or consumers. You have one time to get it right. Hopefully, in some cases, you have more, but many times you might only have one. So think of yourself when you're going to your first networking meeting, whether in person or on Zoom. You want to present yourself well. You dress the part in a sense, or dress what the part you want to play and portray in your business. And in Zoom nowadays, we kind of have to consider, like I even took a minute to look what's behind me because everyone's seeing all that's around me. So you have to take all that into play. So just as with the logo, you want to make sure that the logo is well designed and it can stimulate interest and invite a person to want to learn more about what your business offers or sells. Make sure your logo makes that good first impression. We can think of Chanel. The founder, as we all know, is Coco Chanel. 2 C's in the name. They were interlocked, and it was in 1925. So that shows how timeless this logo is. There's this type treatment of the logo is considered letterplay, and letterplay seeks the arrangement between the business's initials in a creative way. It becomes memorable and iconic in its composition. They put the logo in all their merchandise, and they have it made into even patterns on, I think it's like their pocketbooks and inside of their lining of different products. And this business really took it, pushed it even further, why their logo has become a pattern. And it's nice, like some businesses may have this opportunity to do that, but it's kind of rare too, it depends on your business. So number 3, it builds a foundation for your brand identity, and it's memorable. Branding is about storytelling, and that can spark an emotion in a customer. A logo is only part of your brand. There are many parts to branding, which is another topic, as I said earlier. Your logo, in the sense of your brand identity, comes from many parts: symbols, fonts, colors, and style. You hear me say that a lot, but it's all, each element has its meaning behind it, and there's thought put through it when you're developing a logo. There's a lot of thought put into the certain font that you choose. Your logo gets translated into all your branding and marketing materials, both, as I mentioned before, for online and for print on paper, such as your business cards, to t-shirts, to letterhead, advertisements, brochures, and online, your social media, as I said, landing pages, and even in my case, PowerPoints. So a good logo to show is Nike. Nike represents the Greek goddess of victory, and the swoosh reflects the speed and light or I should say speed and flight-like qualities that our users might experience while wearing their products of the brand. So as we know, right, we put on our Nikes and we can all run a lot faster. You know, that's what they're trying to symbolize and give that perception to people. So number 4, it distinguishes you from your competition. This is something we all talk about, and especially small businesses. How can we be different than our competition, and how do we stand out? I talk about that when we do design websites, is how do you want to stand out in your business? And the same goes for the logo. Sometimes it's hard to be different, but your logo tells customers why your business is unique and different than other businesses that do and sell the same thing that you do. Your business may have different values and commitments. A well-designed logo communicates what the company is about through the right icon, symbol, and the use of proper fonts and colors. Your logo is a medium to visually convey the difference between you and your competitor. So Fedex, we all see a lot of trucks nowadays because people aren't shopping in person as much. But the Fedex logo is plastered on the trucks and planes. There isn't anything groundbreaking in the logo. It's simple type treatment, but there's a hidden meaning. Does anybody know what that meaning is?
Well, no, there's an arrow between.
Did everybody know that? It's
Yeah.
been around for a bit, so I assume some people know that.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah, so the negative, if you notice the negative space between the E and the X, and if you notice, you know, it used to be called Federal Express, as we all know, and then when they simplified the logo, they put FedEx together so the D and the E are touching. But if you look at the E and the X, the negative space represents an arrow. So the arrow, of course, shows movement and speed and precision, just like the brand. It does overnight delivery, quick and on time. And in this case, the colors, purple and orange, are complementary colors. And I think of sports teams that use purple and orange and a lot of complementary colors, but specifically I think of sports teams. Orange represents energy, hence why a sports team would use orange, and confidence. Purple stands for creativity and sophistication and royalty in a sense. And we all know complementary colors work really well together. So their logo aligns with their mission and their delivery of their product. So, and the last one is, oops, did I skip a slide? Oh, I think hang on. I moved one. So the last one is fosters brand loyalty. When you see a logo from time to time, it becomes recognizable. Everything about it becomes familiar. In a sense, you make friends with it. You think of it as reliable, always on your side. As customers grow, your logo is going to be more familiar to them. And the more you post it on social and you comment on pages, the more you do marketing and networking, the more people will see it and get accustomed to the business and logo. This creates the familiarity that you want and the perception that you and your company are trustworthy and knowledgeable. So you think of Apple. Apple, such a classic look right now, but in 1976, it was a print engraving of Sir Isaac Newton under a tree with an apple over his head, almost like it was about to fall. This is kind of an old-fashioned, fussy logo, not really representing technology at all. Until Steve Jobs changed that. He hired a specific designer that created a modern and simple look of an apple. It was sleek design, minimalist logo, a perfect fit for a technology company. And that was breaking boundaries. And their logo changed slightly for many years, but it stuck with the theme of an apple. I think early on it introduced color to it when monitors became in color, and then it got into the sleek design that it is today. Similar to how McDonald's kept it really consistent. So saying that when you have a good logo, you don't always have to change it. Sometimes people change things with the times and style, and you know that's kind of what McDonald's and Apple did, but they were all slight variations to this. So other than 5 reasons to have a good logo, there's elements to it. So elements of a good logo. So this is slightly different, but similarities in the case, things overlap here. So elements of a good logo is it simple? And as I just said, you know, think of Apple, their original logo that I described to now, it's really clean and simple, so clear. So that becomes, it's distinct and memorable. It's easy to recognize it. You can see it from a distance. Is it timeless, standing the test of time? And I mentioned that with Chanel. It's still around. Nothing much has changed. I don't think they've changed their logo in many years. So, and with that, timeless is you don't want to be too trendy with a specific font or color. You really want to make sure, I don't want to say contemporary or conservative, but that it has a timeless look. Something like Coca-Cola, we all know that logo and the font. That font was specifically designed for Coca-Cola. And so it's not like a font you can buy or, you know, get through the internet. There might be copies of it, but you can't get the same font. And they really have stuck to their timelessness, even though it's a unique style. So another thing is your logo effective in color and black and white? I always think of, and I tell my clients when I design logos, I design it in black and white. So you're purely looking at the design before you look at the color, because color, everyone has their own opinion on colors. And as I said before, there's theories behind color. So we want to pick things the colors we choose based on what the business is about. But, you know, you really don't want to have the distraction of color. Is it clear and easy to read? Can you read it at any size and scale? This is really important to do because a lot of times now we're working with web and we want to have our logos be more, you know, I want to say horizontal, rectangular form than these big boxy elements, because if they're always in the header of a website, you're taking up that much more space on your web page, just allowing room for your navigation with the logo there. So it's kind of good to make sure you're keeping that in mind when somebody's developing your logo or you're developing it. And then is it versatile across all medium? So as I said, can you put it on a website, and then can you put it on, say, a pen, where are you going to be able to see it in all cases? So, and I'm showing here the size and scale with beats, really simple design, clear. You can see the samples that I sent there. So questions to ask yourself if you have an existing logo or if you are considering one, to develop one. So does the logo speak to my target? So is it directed to my target audience? Is it really telling them what my business is about? Does it really represent my business? Is there a certain style of my business or element shown here where the customer sees it at a quick glance, they can kind of have an idea of what the business is about? Is it recognizable? Is it easy to read? So as I said before, can people see it at a distance, or can they see it on a business card? A lot of times people want to put their tagline or this long message underneath it, and I'm always saying you really have to consider the size and the scale of it, because once you shrink it down, are you going to be able to read it? Is it memorable? Can you, once you see the logo after a while, it doesn't have to be some crazy, like, cool looking symbol, say like Nike, but is it memorable? Will people know when they see your logo that it represents you, your business, and they understand what it is? Is it legible? So that also has to do with the size and the scale and the clarity of the fonts chosen in colors. A lot of times I don't recommend using yellow even as text because you cannot read it. A deep gold is probably a little risky too to use. That's only I'm saying with types and fonts. And does it work across all types of platforms? So is it working for all your materials that you're going to be posting your logo on? And we want our logos on everything. So, and now after sharing all this, I always say everyone has their own taste and style, but you want to make sure that your logo represents your business and the target that you're speaking to, not just, I like the color, so I want to use it. That's not the right way to go. So, and I've said this before, some of this is redundant, repeat, but things that I think about when I'm developing a logo is, what's the style and personality of the client? I do ask the client this question, and I ask them to give me like 5 adjectives that describe their question, their their personality and the style of their business, or what they're representing. What's a representational symbol? Some companies can actually come up with a symbol that might represent their business, and that's always helpful and beneficial, not necessary though. When you are designing a logo, stick to 1 to 2 fonts. You don't want to have a lot of fonts. It creates too much distraction and competition between the words that are being used. For conceptual purposes, think in black and white. Contrast is good. So with black and white, you can work with contrast very easily and see what stands out and what is most important that you want to be shown. And I did talk about the scale, how things relate to each other. If the symbol and the text, how do the two relate? You don't just put one right next to the other. There has to be some kind of relation happening. And once the design is underway, then I introduce color, and we talk about color theory, and color has meaning. So what's the meaning behind the choice of selected colors? So that's all. I shared a lot with you. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Laura.
So is it okay to have different versions of the same logo for different areas? So, you know, if you're, say you were putting, you're sponsoring a 5K and they asked you for a logo for their t-shirt, you don't want to give you know, if you have a long thin logo, you don't want to give them a big long thin one, because they're only going to give you a certain amount of space on the t-shirt, and your logo is going to be tiny. So is it okay to make like different versions?
So in some cases, yes. So, and when I do a logo, a lot of times I'll give them a style guide. I can stop sharing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll give them a style guide. Oops. And in that, I will show them, I even show them a black and white version. But in that, I will show them, if you're going to do, say it's more rectangular, but if you are going to do it in a square, like actually think about it now, we have to do our profiles on like Instagram and Facebook, and they're all these little rectangles. So I do give it to them, a version of that as in that, say, shape. And there might have to be adjustments with it, but it's better to do that ahead of time and have that time and thought put into it versus you're always changing it slightly different, so then you don't have consistency. And if you think about FedEx, they have, what is it, FedEx Ground, FedEx Express, FedEx Silver, and I think they have different colors that relate. One, I think the orange is always consistent, but then the purple changes. There's something like that. So they have some kind of, they developed this style guide ahead, thought about it ahead of time, and then implemented it. So
it's difficult to try and figure out how to make a logo. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience of the chamber, we were just looking for something very plain. We just wanted it to be our name, you know. And then, but what we made a little bit different was the M. We kind of made it swirly, and we gave it 10 little squares. And those 10 squares was because we represent 10 different towns, and they're different size towns, so the squares were a little bit different. But we can take that M away. You know, we made a logo, if you want, of just the M, and we post that a lot of places too.
Right.
If we don't use the whole logo, you know.
Yeah, I heard you say that before with the squares, and I thought that was genius. I'm like, oh, what a good idea. I wonder if and I know before you were talking about maybe moving out of Milford and not be calling Milford because you service all those towns.
I know, that would be my struggle, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you're taking those diamonds and you're doing something with that, so you're not changing off. And you do have 2 color consistence all the time. So, you know, you have branded yourself with all that.
But I like the idea of just keeping it simple. I think people can go overboard trying to come up with different, like, fancy designs and all. I think if you keep it simple, it's so much easier, you know. And then, like you said, you can change up your taglines if you want for the different, just like FedEx does, you know. If you have a line underneath that says, you know, like Beatrice, for example, you know, if they're doing disinfecting, you know, or whatever it is that they want to use for different words, they could write that underneath for and use it in different areas, you know.
Right. Yeah, and then as you said, taglines, and I mentioned this before, you just want to be careful because sometimes I was working with a client recently. He had this long tagline, and I was like, you don't want to put that under your logo because you know what, more than the 4 or 5 words, it becomes so small
Yeah,
that
you
you won't be
can't.
able to read it.
Yeah.
And then that looks like that just doesn't come across professional. It's you
Yeah.
didn't think everything through. So he got it to 3 words.
Yeah.
He just kept on revising and changing. I'm like, okay, it'll work now because you can see, you know.
Yeah.
So
Does anybody have any questions for Dion?
I did like your question, Laura, because on our logo, it's a shield with a plus sign inside of it. And on the side is the letter shield corp. But it's huge, it's rectangular. But when I want to post on the Instagram profile picture, I tried to put the letter shield on top and corp under, like trying to make it curved. But it looks like a cop sign. So I didn't like that way. I don't think it sounds like a disinfection company. So I just stick with the shield with the plus sign inside. But I still think that I can come with something that they will see the logo and think of us about a disinfection company. But I'm still struggling with the ideas, you know.
yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I'm happy to see it if you want to send it to me. I can post or in the chat for email.
Yeah, put your contact information, Dion, in the chat if you don't mind if someone reaches out with a question.
Oh,
Sure.
please, I would love.
If you can give an opinion.
Thank you.
And yeah, Beatrice, I was going to say is sometimes I know I've done this for clients, is you need to simplify the logo too with the words. So you might have to figure out, and if you've noticed, all of our app images, like Facebook, it's just the F, you know, Instagram, all those have really simplified their image for that purpose. I feel like it's becoming a trend. So people are thinking that's the way to go, maybe, but it's not necessarily the way to go completely, but you have to consider what is happening there. And when you said a shield and a cross, I think of healthcare, right? Is that Blue Cross Blue Shield, or is that, you know, I think I had Red Cross on there. So you want to be careful that you don't look like another company, especially a big company. But I haven't seen it, so I really don't know. But when you said it, that's all.
Yeah, I'll definitely send to you because I had before was 2 different icons, and I was like, no, it's weird. So I just tried to put everything together, but I was looking when I finished, I was like, it's not like what I want. I don't think it sounds right, but for now, I'm just gonna stick with that because we need something. So I'm merging to one, but it's still, I think we need some improvement.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy.
Thank you for emailing, by the way.
So Dion, you just put your email address into the chat, right?
Yep.
So Beatrice can see that one. Okay. All right. So there's no other questions. Our 30 minutes are up. No other questions for sure? No? We're all good. Thank you, Dion. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Laura and
Very
Joanne. Thank you, everybody,
interesting.
for coming.